Quests are not content, according to Westerdahl over on YouTube. According to this person, only dungeons, raids, fat loot, and PvP battlegrounds count as content. The rest of it doesn't matter. Quests don't matter. This mirrors the commentary we had around Shattered Space with Starfield's DLC a few weeks back, where we had someone come on the channel and say, dialogue isn't content. It needs to be gear, it needs to be loot, it needs to be blah. Quests aren't content. Wow. Well, hate to break it to you, Westerdahl, I should say. New World Aeternum is a story-based game. Yes, there is a lot of loot, there are lots of dungeons, there are lots of raids, there are lots of questing things to do, but apart from questing, there's the harvesting and the crafting. There's all sorts of non-questing things to do is what I meant to say. But the primary objective of the game are the quests. That's why you have, if you open this up and go to your journal, we find that there is a main story associated with the game. Now, I'm pretty deep into the main story right now. We're off in the Brimstone's Sands section. I finished the main quest, the main series quest for the base game yesterday during yesterday's stream. I ended up around 65 hours across the live streams. We're well past 70 hours now, and I anticipate we're going to be around, probably 100 hours by the time we finish up the main quest lines in my current playthrough of New World Aeternum before I go over to Dragon Age the Veilguard, which means that was just me focusing on the main story of the game. So to be able to get 100 hours of main story out of a game directly proves that person wrong. Questing is, in fact, content. And the best part about New World is the story itself. I was talking about this in the video we did earlier, which is that my favorite aspect of the game is the story. It's incredibly well voiced. They've got great cutscenes. It reminds me of the Island of Lost, which I've talked about like 30 different times in different videos now. There's some fantasy elements, there's some science fiction elements, there's multiple time periods. We've got Roman legions, we've got Egyptians, we've got... the other day we were running around doing stuff with Imhotep, and I kept flashing back to watching the Mummy movies. Imhotep. But there is obviously a ton of story in this game, and that's why there is literally a main story category. But if you look down here, there's way more than just the main story. There's faction stories, there's seasonal stories, there's skill progression stuff, there's the mount quests, there's epic equipment stuff, there's side stories, there's faction missions, there's event quests, there's town project quests, and then of course recipes and artifacts and a whole bunch of other stuff. There's a whole bunch of things that you can do here above and beyond just the main story. But then you also get into this stuff over here, the documents. Now, if you haven't taken the time to go through the documents, these are the like blue notes you're going to find around the game world. If you're on the main quest, those will be voiced. If you're on the side quests, those will not be voiced. But there are a lot of different tales that can be told. And these are just related to storyline. This is like the environmental storytelling that the game launched with, and it doesn't necessarily have any questing associated with it. Some of them are tied to quests, but many of these are just things that you find in the game world that give you knowledge about the people that lived there who have come before you. And this goes back to the people from the Shattered Space DLC and Starfield who claim that dialogue isn't content. And yet here we have hundreds of thousands of words and lines of dialogue, maybe not hundreds of thousands of lines, but hundreds of thousands of words of dialogue that have been put down into the game to create a living, breathing world around which you can do quests, go adventure, and etc. And when you go into a dungeon, if you've ever done any of the activities here, if you go into one of the expeditions, every time you go into an expedition, there are a series of quests associated with the dungeon to kill mobs and to solve puzzles as you go throughout the dungeon. The fact that they have quests in these expeditions directly contradicts the idea that quests aren't content. Quests are literally the backbone of every MMORPG. This is not a hack and slash looter. Even games like Diablo, even going back to Diablo 1, you had a storyline that provided you with a reason for why you were going down into these dungeons and getting the fat loots, because there is a story reason for why you're going there. I actually can't think of any game. I can't think of any games off the top of my head that don't have any quests associated with them. Like every game I play and every game I've ever played since I was like a single-digit wee lad, thinking back to the text-based Zork games, every game has quests. And your objective when you're playing these games is to go through and follow the quest lines and to uncover the story of why your character is there, why you're doing what you're doing, why you're in the expedition, why you're on the raid. I mean, look at these. We have soul trials. Those have quests behind them. The seasonal trials have stories behind them. The elite trials have stories behind them. The raids have story trials behind them. The mutated expeditions have stories behind them. And the dungeons themselves. I think the only thing that might not necessarily is the 3v3 arena and the outpost rush and the PvP stuff. That doesn't necessarily have stories behind it. But everything else in the game certainly does. Like if you're going to be out there doing like the faction quests. Quick commercial break, everyone, to celebrate and give thanks to all of these amazing people who keep me on the air full time. Really appreciate the support. All you got to do is join as a member. You get access to private videos. You can also do super thanks on any upload or super chats and stickers on any live stream or premiere you see. And beyond that, don't forget we're multi-streaming over on Twitch now, so you can support over there as well. Thanks so much to everybody. Let's get back to the video at hand. There are definitely stories tied to that. And the main story, I wish it would show you, and I guess it doesn't down here. I wish it would show you like quests that you've finished, because I would genuinely be curious, like how many quests have I actually done as part of the main story? Because holy crap, there was like I said, we did 65 hours of stream to get through the main series quest line. So that was multiple days of sitting here for 6 to 8 hours a day playing and doing quests and going through. And some of that time was spent harvesting and crafting and chatting with the community. I think we ended up tracking at the end of the day, I think I said it was around 50 hours total of doing just MSQ stuff, because we also had some side questing in there. And the funny thing is like if you look at me and the way I've played this game, I've basically been barreling down the pipeline of only doing the main quest line because I have a timeline I need to get to by the 30th, because I need to switch over and do Dragon Age the Veilguard. So I've been trying very hard to just get through the main series quest. So I've been skipping all of these side quests, these diamonds on the map, and there are hundreds of these side quests. And all of those individually have their own chains associated with them, and they tell a completely different story. And each one of these regions that you're in, the territories themselves, they all have stories for each one of the regions. And if you follow the quest lines for each region, the side quests of those storylines, you'll find out more about the regions. So, I hate to break it to you, but the idea that quests aren't content is just a bald-faced lie. Quests are literally the backbone of every game out there, especially when you're looking at an MMO, and they give players a reason for being in the game world. So these kind of comments make me laugh. We're going to continue to make videos around these types of comments when they pop up on YouTube, because it's free content for me. So thank you so much, Westerdahl, and those of you who make the content freely available for me. Daily streams, 9 a.m. Mountain Time on YouTube and Twitch. We're also streaming on TikTok these days. And we're continuing to play New World Aeternum, so hopefully we'll see you in the next one. What's your favorite quest in the game, guys? I think the main series quest for me has been my favorite. Brimstone, when I got here and I saw this amazing like Roman villa in the middle of an oasis in the desert with that sci-fi pyramid in the background. I've been very invested in Emotep and finding out what's going on here, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. What's your favorite quest in the game, guys? Drop those down in the comments below. We'll see you in the next one. Stay safe. Happy gaming.